Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Good Dram Show with me, Chris Goodrum, on this rather sunny Sunday afternoon. Right, this afternoon, as you know, we deal directly with in-the-house distillers, so they kindly pander to my quite frequent requests for samples with good grace, and I would like to sort of thank them for sending me the latest batch of samples, of which I have 4 here. What am I going on about? Well, I'm going on about Balblair. Now, I think I've done an episode on Balblair, sort of, in the probably last year sometime, I think. So I won't go into the waffle about the distillery because I've probably sort of gone through all of that. But what they have kindly sent me is this: a drop of new make spirit, and I think they were a bit uncomfortable about letting me have it, but because a lot of distilleries don't like to release, well, they obviously don't release a new make spirit. It's it's not really ready for drinking. But what I love about new make spirit is, and I encourage all of you to at least get, if you can get hold of some, to taste new make spirit, because it's the essence of the distillery. It's the DNA, if you like, before you get the addition of oak character. I mean, as we all know, a good percentage, sort of 70-80 odd percent of most whiskies have a tendency to be derived from the cask that it's matured in, and it's very, very rare to actually get to taste the spirit without all of that sort of oak character, and you kind of get the idea of what the character of the whiskey is all about. And like I said, you don't often get the opportunity to taste it, so it's I'd like to say a really, really big thank you to Balblair and in-the-house distillers for giving me the opportunity to share this with you, because I think it's really interesting, and hopefully as we taste sort of like the samples, we will see a progression of obviously more oak character, but underpinned by what hopefully we will find in the new make spirit. As you know, Balblair have a tendency to release vintage bottlings, a bit like another well-known distillery, but unlike that other well-known distillery, I really love what they're doing. The other well-known distillery, I tasted a couple of their bottlings for the World Whisky Awards. As you know, the results are out, so I kind of get the list of what I've tasted in the previous rounds. And in round 1 I did Speyside, and one particular sample was really hard, really industrial, really murky, and I'm thinking, hello, here we go, bit of Dufftown. And bizarrely enough, no, it turns out to be the other well-known distillery that uses vintage dated bottlings, and it was really poor. It was 2001, and it was an awful bottling, and the rest of the sample seemed to be pretty much made up of Dufftown and Glenfiddich, in actual fact. So I've got a fair few samples to do episodes of the show with, and we'll get onto that in due course, no doubt. So, but anyway, coming back to today, I think I'll just sort of like probably waffled enough, so I'll introduce this afternoon's little lineup. Right, okay, so as I said earlier, the distillery have kindly sent me some of their new make spirit. I believe this is bottled, or is 60, I think it's 62%. The one of the bottles leaked and has kind of almost obliterated the handwritten label, so I'm not entirely sure, but my deduction is that it's 62%. So that will be our starter. Then we will move on to the current sort of youngest release, the 2003, which is about 10 years old. I think Certainly this was released around about November last year, and I think these were released roughly about the same sort of time. So about sort of 10 years old, and as you can see, aged entirely in American oak. The next one we'll be looking at is the Balblair 1990. So I'm guessing around about sort of 23 years old, aged in, as you can see from the colour, a combination of American oak and sherry casks. So should be really quite interesting. And finally we'll be looking at this sample, the Balblair 1983. So again we're looking at a spirit around about sort of 30 years old, wholly aged in American oak, all bottled at 46%, so unchilled, filtered, not mucked around with, and you know, as we like our whiskey. So there you have it. That's this afternoon's little lineup. So I'm hoping that obviously the new make spirit will give us an indication of the style of the spirit that comes off the still at Balblair, and then obviously as we work through the age statements, it will obviously then, you know, show how the various casks give character to the spirit. So let's kick off with the new make then, shall we? Right, okay, so let's see what the nose gives us then, shall we? Well, it's obviously new make. It has that sort of slightly oily, what I term off the still character, but actually it's really quite soft. It's slightly perfumed with a sort of rose hyacinth kind of perfume to it. Obviously cereal, a little bit biscuity, which you would kind of expect, but it has a lovely elegance and a light sweetness, a light sort of apricot-y, fruity kind of character. It's got some nice esters, quite fresh. So yeah, I mean this is actually really appealing new make. I mean, yeah, I mean I have tasted some new makes which are just so pungently oily that you just go, oh my god, you know, and you're sort of fighting against all that sort of, you know, impure character to try and sort of like get to grips with the spirit. But this is actually really clean, really fresh, and quite perfumed. It's really nice. Palate. Yeah, there's quite a fair amount of alcohol, but in actual fact it's actually quite drinkable. Again, you're pretty much getting what we got on the nose. You're getting the sort of lightly gristy barley, the slightly biscuity, malty kind of notes, but again it has a really nice elegance, a sort of a little bit of citrus, slightly perfumed, floral kind of character. Quite peppery, you know, I'm getting a lot of pepper now on the finish, you know, that sort of, not sweet black pepper, but that kind of peppery black pepper, if you see what I mean. I mean, that is actually really, really nice. That is actually very drinkable. Yeah, it's slightly oily. You're certainly getting the impurities sort of, certainly on the edge of the tongue, but no, that's really good. I'm going to put a little drop of water with it, Highland water, obviously, and see what happens. Softer, slightly sweeter, probably more barley. It's more perfumed now, in actual fact. I'm getting more of that kind of sweet rose, almost sort of rose Turkish delight. still quite robust, still fairly, you know, lots of barley, and but that's really elegant. That is really very, very good spirit. And I mean, you know, if you have good quality spirit to start off with, it just goes, unless you put it into, you know, really poor casks, you're going to get sort of like, you know, a good product out at the end. And that is really nice new make. That's lovely. Really sweet now. Lots and lots of granulated sugar. Apricots, or latent kind of apricot-y kind of fleshy fruit. Emphasise the citrus. It's got some nice herbal character, which I tend to find in Balblair, and you certainly, it's strange, but that herbally kind of note seems to sort of, for me, when I've tasted Balblair in the past, be quite sort of like a characteristic point. And certainly when they've used a bit of sherry cask, it seems to emphasise that kind of herbalness. Nice and fresh, a little bit oily still. That is very, very good. That is really nice. Right, okay, so let's take a look at the 2003. As you can see, probably aged in, well, certainly not first fill American oak, judging by the colour of that. I should imagine sort of like maybe, could even be sort of third fill oak. So let's see what the nose gives us. Now it's got that lovely perfumed character. Certainly, it's definitely following in the line with the new make, with that sort of hyacinthy rose kind of perfume. The oak is starting to come in. It's very, very slight, a little bit grainy in character, with some nice vanilla. Quite fruity. It's fleshing out. The sort of the fruity esters that we found in the new make are certainly starting to come out, with a sort of like apricot, a bit of banana, almost lightly tropical fruit, but certainly not tropical in, say, like the Arran scent, for example, but just lightly. Some nice citrus, a little bit of soft spice. Not quite as fresh or citrusy as I remember the previous bottling they did, the 2002, which just had this real vibrant kind of grassy freshness to it. This has just got a little bit more kind of oak, a little bit more vanillins, a little bit more wood, but you know, it's harmonious. This is a lovely whiskey, and this is what I love about young Balblair. It is that it has that sort of lovely intensity, and it's really well balanced. I think if they'd have used maybe first fill American oak, it would probably have been a little bit too oaked, a little bit swamped. The oak is kind of coming through now with time. It's getting a little bit more sort of creamy, but still that fruit is holding quite nicely. So yeah, a really appealing nose. So palate. Yeah, I think not quite as fresh as the O2. A bit more oak character than what I remember, but I could be wrong. I mean, it was a long time ago since I tasted the O2. Some lovely sort of toasty vanilla, caramel, but it's still got a nice grassiness, citrusness. The fruit is still there. It's just really nicely balanced, harmonious, little bit of that pepperiness certainly now on the finish. I can also detect a little bit of that floral rose hyacinths kind of character, but that's really quite broad, but elegant and delicate at the same time. That is a really nicely balanced whiskey, and I mean, I loved the O2, and it was certainly certainly a go-to whiskey at its kind of price point, which I think was about mid-30s, something like that. I think, like most of the sort of 10-year-old, 12-year-old distillery bottlings tend to be these days. Little bit of spice on the aftertaste. You know, that's a lovely malt. It's just absolutely delightful, you know. And it's strange because, you know, up until a few years ago, I hadn't actually tasted very much in the way of distillery bottle Balblair. I'd come across it a few times with independent bottlings, but it wasn't until we started dealing with in-house distillers that I got the opportunity to taste their entire range, and was really impressed. So so yeah, that is very nice. Really like that. Right, okay, so let's take a look at the 1990 then. So it's about sort of 23-ish kind of years old. Combination of American oak and sherry. As you can see, it's slightly darker colour. Nice bronze kind of colour. So let's see what the nose gives us. Oh, that is lovely. Initially, right, so you can tell it's got some sherry casks, it's got some mature sherry, but the balance on this is just sublime. This is just, I mean, I'm guessing, I mean, you'd look at the colour and you'd think it's probably used quite a bit of sherry there, but certainly from the nose you would probably say, I would guess, about 50% sherry, 50% American oak, because I'm getting the dusty, sawdusty, mature American oak notes, and I'm getting that dried fruit, raisinated, fruit cakey, cognac-esque kind of sherry character. Lovely spice, lovely depth, real poise, elegance, and balance. And I mean, you know, I go on and on and on about balance in whiskey, because to me, that is the most important part of a whiskey. I want balance. I want balance between oak, spirit, you know, whatever, any spirit, you know. You know, I'm not a huge fan of the big sherry monsters. That, to me, I mean, they can be impressive. I mean, like, for example, I tasted for the World Whisky Awards the latest Balblair Abunda. You know, good, clean sherry, but you know, it's all sherry at the end of the day, and it's, you know, I want some clue to the spirit. I want something other than just sort of wood, and the same goes for, you know, overtly American oak whiskies as well. You know, this has got some beautiful spice and maturity, elegance. You know, that is absolutely stunning. I mean, that is just how to use American oak and sherry casks together, in my opinion. You're just getting, you know, the best of both worlds. You're getting the character of each. You're getting a little bit still of that fleshy, fruity, slightly perfumed spirit character. Yeah, that is an absolutely stunning nose. That is great. I love this whiskey. Palate. That is a lovely mouthful. Again, the palate is pretty much mirroring the nose. You're getting, on the one hand you're getting the sawdusty mature American oak, you're getting the raisinated fruit from the sherry character, or from the sherry cask I should say, some spice, some herbal notes. Finish is gorgeous. I mean, it just moves in waves. You're kind of getting a bit of American oak, a bit of sherry. You know, neither of them is kind of like, you know, blanketing the other. They're just sort of really sort of dovetailing together really, really nicely. Again, got that sort of rich fruit, that little bit of perfume, and a little bit of pepperiness on the finish. But I'm probably getting more of the dried fruit, a little bit more of the sherry on the finish. Kind of starts maybe more with the American oak and finishes more with the sherry. But that is robust and that is absolutely stunning. What more can you ask for? You know, you want complexity in your whiskey. This has it in absolute bucketfuls. Yeah, absolutely stunning. Right, okay, so on to the final whiskey of this afternoon, the 1983. So we're looking at about 30 years old spirit, aged wholly in American oak. Let's see what the nose gives us. That is mature American oak. It's perversely doesn't smell as old as the previous bottling. It's very subtle, it's very light, quite dusty, oily. It's got that lovely, it has more of the perfumed spirit character from the new make, obviously, because the sherry does have that tendency to add that sort of rich kind of dried fruit character. This is probably more in keeping with the first two, but some toffee, some vanilla. Oh, that is just gorgeous. Dusty spice, bit of granulated sugar. I mean, that starts off really subtle. It starts off and you sort of like go, oh, there's not a lot going on there, but you know, you give it a bit of time, give it a bit of aeration, give it some time to breathe, and it really comes out fruity. It's got again that sort of dense apricot-y fruit that we found in the new make, and that lovely sort of toffee. A bit of white licorice. Some lovely, lovely sweet spices. That is absolutely fantastic. I mean, as you know, I'm more of the, you know, when it comes to whiskies, I prefer my American oak whiskies, but you know, I don't mind sherry certainly when it's used sparingly and judiciously. But you know, it's just you know, American oak, given some time, given sort of like a few decades, stunning, absolutely stunning. Perfumed, getting a bit of violets now, a bit of that sort of bourbon oak kind of character, which I often find in American whiskies, that sort of, that violety sort of character. Lovely sweet spices. Bit of toffee, licorice. God, I just go on and on and on about this particular whiskey. This is absolutely fantastic stuff. I mean, you know, Balblair is, having tasted the distillery releases, I have to say that with a lot of distillery bottlings, there's always going to be one bottling that really doesn't do it for me. You know, whether it's like, yeah, I mean, there's a number of I mean, Macallan, the old, what's the oldest one, the Ruby, I think it's called, that had a sort of like a slight dirty edge to it. Tomatin, for example, 15 doesn't do it for me. Tomintoul, the 12, you know, I could go on and on. You know, there are a number of distilleries where there's just one bottling in the range that just doesn't work, doesn't do it for me. But I have to say, with Balblair, I have not tasted a bottling in the range that has just not, you know, done it for me. It has not sort of ticked all the boxes, so to speak. You know, each bottling I've tasted from them has just been absolutely spot on. And there's very, very few distilleries that I can actually say that for. So hats off, pub. Oh my God, that's good. Again, harmonious. We're getting milky, slightly yogurty kind of American oak, but real intense kind of, almost not gristy, but kind of earthy sort of, but not overly earthy fruit. Some lovely spices. Again, some rich fruit, some apricot, a little bit of licorice. Oh God, those spices on the finish are just absolutely sublime. I mean, that's stunning, absolutely stunning. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. You just can't argue with the quality of that. Really long. I mean, I'm still sort of tasting it now, and you know, I'll probably go on tasting it for, you know, probably about half an hour after we finish the video. And oh, that is damn good. Time to sum up. Right, okay, so let's sum this little tasting up then. You know, Balblair, it's a really good distillery. I mean, you know, you'll have to forgive me, but I don't know the distillery manager's name or the master blender or whoever. But you know, yeah, doing a bloody good job. That's all I can say. I mean, yeah, it's good. If you're working with, you know, top quality sort of stuff to start off with, you know, chances are you're going to end up with a bloody good product after it. But the new make is absolutely gorgeous, really, really drinkable. You know, like I said, from when we started, it had that sort of lovely kind of floral perfume kind of character, with some lovely fruit as well. That followed through onto the 2003 with the addition of, you know, some oak, which obviously is what we expected. But yeah, maybe, like I said, didn't quite have the freshness of the 2002 bottling, but you know, still a absolutely gorgeous whiskey. The 83, just a textbook example of how to use sherry casks, in my opinion. It was complex. It had character from all three of the facets. It had spirit character, it had American oak character, it had sherry character, and you know, it was just absolutely gorgeous. And finally, the 83. Well, stunning, absolutely stunning. You know, stick it in a good quality American oak cask, leave it for 30 years, and this, ta-da, is what you get. An amazing, amazing whiskey. And if you've not tasted Balblair, I really think you should do so, because what they're doing is absolutely brilliant. So you know, there you go. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the show. I hope it sort of, you know, encourages you to take a look at Balblair. I mean, we've got some obviously in stock. We've got, excuse me, earlier vintages in stock. We've got the 02, I think we've got the 89, certainly got the 75. The 75 is just, oh oh my God, that's unbelievably good, you know. I think I might have even reviewed it in the early episode, but I could be wrong. I mean, how many of these have I done now? 80, God knows what, you know. I lose track. But whatever. All I can say is, even if you don't buy it from us, give Balblair a shot. You know, you will be pleasantly surprised, and I'm sure you will really, really enjoy it. So, all that's left to say is I hope you enjoyed this episode of the show, and good dramming, and good afternoon.